So hello everyone. I am Professor Mayank Mathur. I am heading the computational business analytics department here. While my I am I mean I like to be excite you for the very fact that this is a very unique business school which has been offering a course like this, and you all many of you for that matter have already accepted and are in the process of looking forward to join this college. I would like to welcome Mr. Avin Jain. Avin actually is. I have been associated with Avin for a good period of time. I worked with him in his organization for almost 2 to 3 years, and I'm still in touch with him, looking at what new technologies are coming in, what new developments are going on in the data technologies area. And this very session is also based on that particular fact that Avin could share a lot of insights from his past experiences, from his past product development experiences, entrepreneurial experiences, and the future scope and the future prospects, what this industry can offer to all of us. And that's something which brings a lot of interesting insights from his experiences with this field of data analytics. So a quick introduction: as you know, Professor Ramakrishna Velamuri is the dean for the School of Management, and this particular and then there are a lot of faculties who have been already onboarded as a part of the School of Management, who are there as a part of this session as well. And a bunch of students, as I explained, are a part of either digital technologies or computational business analytics or economics and finance. So most of them are already have already been offered, and most of them already accepted it. And sometime in the month of September is when we are expecting to start the classes, etc. And so this whole program primarily brings in the right perspective from the industry and encourages the students to ask the right questions about the industry, because these courses are very specialized courses. They are not like the standard BBA courses which we see in the other universities. So looking at a computational business analytics program, we definitely are looking at bringing in more experts from the industry and talk to lot of entrepreneurs who are already in this journey. And as a part of that, you are the first one whom we are contacting. uh, I request Spandan Reddy to mute himself. Yes, thank you. Yes. So a quick introduction about Avin. As I said, like, Avin is the CEO of BigData Bizviz Technologies, and he's here for a deep discussion with us, and take us through the talk about his journey in the industry. And with 2 decades of software experiences, and who has worked on in organizations like business objects and then SAP later on, and then has been an entrepreneur for last 12 to 13 years. I think he'll have a lot of interesting aspects to share with you. And Avin is a graduate from IIT BHU, and he has worked in his career for almost as we speak, like almost 3 decades. Since the inception of data analytics, I would say he has been associated with the industry. So he could share a lot of insights. So first, I'll be taking you through a journey of his experiences and all, and then we will open it for the rest of the students to ask the questions, etc. Okay, so Avin, I think without wasting any time, I would like you to give us the insights of your journey throughout your experiences in data analytics, and then your journey to start your own organization and working today, and then we'll go step by step.
So, good morning, everybody. So, it's exciting to talk to the next generation, I will say. And you will have to define quite a lot of things in terms of how the industry moves or how we live, day to day, because this is exciting. Everybody will be using it because the analytics is going to transform a lot of things. And analytics is it's a linear indicator of the growth. So we will come to this point a little later, but you will see that any organization or any company or any society or any governments or nation are more developed if they have more matured analytics. There's a correlation between the two. And there's a huge journey in terms of how we will progress from, let's say, 2021 to, let's say, 2040, with so much of innovations coming together and all the technologies will get connected. So we are into the broken technology level right now. We will talk about it. Uh, so primarily, as Mayank said, so my association with the business intelligence, we used to call it as, and you can just check on some of my interviews or videos on YouTube, where I've explained that business intelligence is, so basically what happens is every transaction that we are doing in the world, it's like a row of a table, and it has its timestamp and it has its intelligence. So if we can tap that and bring in our algorithms or logic or whatever it is, and can judge it on various parameters, then we will be able to predict also. So that's the basic concept of business intelligence. How do you trap a moment of time which associates with a business or anything? So in year 2000, business objects, which was used to be the large company in the field of business intelligence, they came in India, and we were working for a very small company. That's also a good motivation factor for people. We were working for a 50 member, 100 member type of company, which was unknown. But because of our sheer will, we could get that type of a contract. And then Business Objects decided to create a lab, a R&D lab with India. And they gave me the new products division to head. And then I was working there for last 8 years, uh, not last, for 8 years into the R&D department. And virtually I saw in terms of how they used to acquire different type of companies to increase their product portfolio, to give end-to-end analytics. That was a company which made a very serious effort for it. And talking in terms of money, so when we started the journey with Business Objects, it was like a $250 million company. But in 8 years, it kept on growing in such a way that it was a $7 billion acquisition by SAP in 2007. So if you try to map that type of an acquisition today, it's almost like 30 to $50 billion type of an acquisition.
Hmm.
So that was a phenomenal achievement by that company, and I learned a lot from them. Then in 2008, and I was the only one who went to Paris and then was working with the core gurus of Business Objects at that time. And you guys will be surprised that once SAP acquired it, and some of the people started leaving it. So these are the people who are actually leading in the other product companies also. Somebody was working in Vizier, somebody working in Talent, somebody was running Looker.
Hmm.
And from India, I think we were the only one who started the consulting company in the beginning, who wanted to do the implementation on SAP Business Objects. And we did it for quite a lot of large customers across the globe. Uh, I will come to the analytics maturity in India. It may sound um, little bit not so positive, but that's the fact is a fact, because we are not we are still a developing country. But we do have spurts of growth, and analytics is definitely good in those aspects. Then after doing a lot of consulting for over 4 or 5 years, so I realized that maybe SAP Business Objects is not the type of product which I want to focus my journey or my life for the next whatever 20 years left for me in the industry. And then I took a decision to build a competitive product or a platform. And we have been working on this platform from last 7 8 years, and so it has been a very very slow type of growth, or you say it's extremely challenging. And then Mayank can also tell you, because this is really good to have such type of people getting into the education, who can actually show you the right mirror in terms of reduce the gap between the industry and the education, as well as give you the right advice. So these type of platforms generally take a lot of time to build. So it took us almost like 5 years to build the platform, and it's tough entrepreneurial journey where the finance and other things becomes really tough, and then results come little late. But lately, our platform has turned out to be comparatively good, that it is able to compete with IBMs and SAPs and Microsofts, Googles, and AWS of the world. And so this was a little bit theory earlier, but from last 1 year we have been doing implementation for one of the largest OEMs. For you guys, it's car manufacturer of the world. You can just say the top one. And we have been implementing this using our platform, and we have been able to save $40 million for them in just 1 year. And this is going to be one of the largest deployments in the globe. So I have to talk about this one only because it's really a large deployment, but we have customers in every segment.
Mm.
So we are just hitting the growth button now. It was a lot of hard work. So Mayank, in some of his sessions, he will be able to explain
Yes.
what exactly happens, when things take a little bit more time, and how engineering is very different than the implementation. So that's my journey overall.
Yeah.
And I understand business intelligence. So analytics is the intelligence out of that, row or column, whatever row, different type of rows. And machine learning is, or you can say that machine learning is a little bit later. First is the predictive analytics, in terms of if we have a lot of rows are there, and if we are able to find out the correlations between them and put them into some intelligence and make some formulas which we call as algorithms, and then start implementing it. And we do some feature engineering in terms of trying to understand this type of result is positive, negative, or whatever, and keep on feeding back to the system. Then through the TensorFlow and Keras and whatever new things we have designed, the machine will start learning it. And once the machine will start learning it on the basis of the instructions of the data scientist or somebody who is giving the inputs, then it is called as machine learning, correct?
Sure. Sure.
And with tons and tons of data, and over a period of few years, if the machine learning algorithm keeps on giving you a lot of accurate results, so in such a way that it is able to take care of the new variables coming into the system,
Hmm.
then it is called deep learning. And once a system goes to the deep learning level, then nobody has to do anything.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think you have brought in a very interesting aspect while you were taking us through the journey about how there is a gap which is presently there in terms of how the world looks at data analytics versus what engineers in the current world pursue at this point. So, could you talk more about what is expected to build the right skills for these students who are currently looking at doing courses like computational business analytics, and what are those gaps specifically? What industry is looking at from these people?
Yeah. So first of all, thanks to Meng to share the course content with me, and
Yes.
I liked it because, see, first of all is the course content. So there is definitely a theoretical aspect, but there is a good practical aspect that has been designed. So in terms of and see, the most important skill that anyone can have to do anything is the common sense. And common sense will help you to be more inquisitive about everything. If you are inquisitive, this means you will try to understand the problems, the problem statement, what you are trying to solve. Because unless you do not understand the problem, the business analytics, the issue is you are always going to interact with the extreme user. Or if you talk about the industry, you are going to mainly interact with the CXO layer. So CXO layer is always very intelligent about their business, what they want, and what is not working, what is working. They already have a very clear idea. So that's why business analytics becomes a little bit more complex if these attributes are not there. Now, how do you develop those type of attributes? You will develop those type of attributes by modeling yourself inside the data, because the data only has the issues. So first of all, you will try to understand from outside or from the users, like what they are actually looking at on the screen in terms of the visualization aspect, correct? So we look at a lot of good looking dashboards, but that is just 15% or 20%, 20% aspect. The real game is hidden behind the data and data complexity. So once you know, okay, they are looking at something like this, you know, also, for example, let's start taking a practical example so that you will start understanding more. So suppose today COVID pandemic is very big, correct? And everybody has interest in trying to know more about it. So can we have a global dashboard which can give you, you know, idea of most of the questions that come out to you on a daily basis in terms of if you know governments are ready to give that type of clarity, because you will like to see, okay, how many, so how many people are getting COVID positive, you know, how many are asymptomatic. All these are very important and simple things. But what is the percentage of critical people are dying versus what is the percentage of total number of people who are dying? Then how do you classify or drill down to the regional level, state level, you know, country level, conditions level, uh, and then can you just get into a little bit of projection in terms of, you know, how the waves are coming? So there is some commentary, there is some data analytic, or there's some algorithmic outputs, cluster analysis about it,
Mm.
correct? And there are some correlations that can be generated, and this should be, you know, smoothly in terms of automatic. Now how do you do that? So this looks like a very simple one, and you would have seen some of the data also, but still you will not be able to do. Then if you wanted to do a little bit of self service inside that, in terms of you wanted to go to your local area and then try to create your own charts on top of it,
Mm.
you have that type of facility. So all these things comes from the tool. But now thinking of designing this from the data side, because this means that you are virtually connecting almost all of the Aadhaar data, you are connecting almost all of the RT-PCR tests data, you are connecting almost all of the you know, deaths data. So, correct. So you are syncing so much of different type of database. So syncing doesn't means that you will just write some 10 lines of Python code and then you will start getting it, correct? So now understand the journey of it. So we have understood the basic what is required here. Now we have to understand the different type of data sources, because you may have a difficulty in terms of how UP government is giving you a pipeline data. Pipeline means continuous stream of data that is coming, correct?
Yes,
How
yes.
many cases came today and all that. So UP government may give you into a different type of stream, and Maharashtra may give you in a different type of a stream. Some you are getting it from the global sources. So your your databases are going to be many and different. So you need to have those type of understanding that how I will ingest this type of data, correct? And then you can ingest some data from Twitter also. There might be some people who might be giving you a PDF report, may not be giving you a row and column. Somebody will give you into a CSV format. Somebody will just push like an Excel file. So how do you make all of this into a running story in a way that every 15 minutes or every half an hour you should be able to get an update? So when we are talking about general public, government can give general public an update every day. But you know, the state minister, something like that, if you wanted to uh, you know, and then map these things on geo location in such a way that you can find out clusters and take preventive you know, cares on those clusters.
Sure.
And if you want to take it next level, you can even start correlating this with the behavioral patterns, you know, wherever the events are happening, how the cases are coming, so you can just start implementing local lockdowns.
Sure.
So I'm just giving you just idea in terms of, so now here visualization is okay, but the main thing is how do you look at different sort of data and make it as a common. So now we have started calling that as a data lake. Some of you would have heard that name of data lake and all that. And now terminology is data lake house, because sometimes you don't want it to bring all the data common together. and you are creating some pipes out of it. So you are creating chunks of the data, and then you are creating data lakehouse. As you work more on raw data and get and you apply your machine learning and then try to make analyze data, and then finally you consume that into any visualization.
Correct.
So I understand people have just come from 12th class, so some
Yeah.
terminology may be a little difficult. But these are the terminologies you should get acquainted with as you are trying to understand what is happening in the industry.
No, absolutely, absolutely. So one important aspect which comes to the mind is that when we are talking about the current scenarios, I mean, because in the last 1.5, 2 years, things have changed. The world is has changed completely. So while we had planned or we had looked forward to the data analytics or AI ML in a very different perspective. So what do you think has changed after COVID, and what is that and what are the opportunities at the same time, if we are talking about COVID scenario overall? So looking at these people who are going to enter the college now, they would be graduating somewhere around 3 years from now. And what are the avenues you could think of at this point of time for them, and then they should be progressing further on that.
Yeah. So if you look at all the other flip sides of COVID, that is okay. But let's talk about the technologies. COVID is
Yes.
pushing for the implementation of the next set of technology. Because if you observe what the top technologists of the world are saying, whether we are talking about, so when we say AI, it becomes very confusing because there are so many things into the AI. But if you see at present, the technology innovation is there, but it is in pockets. It is not connected. So, for example, I'll give you a very small thing. The Microsoft hologram, correct? If Microsoft hologram would have developed, and they have developed it quite beautifully, but the limitation is the bandwidth, correct? So instead of, let's say, 100 MB connection today, if you would have had a 1 gigabyte type of a connection, we would have been doing this on a hologram, correct? So where everybody would have appeared into a 3D classroom itself,
Yeah.
and it would have looked like we are all sitting together in a conference room. So on in isolation, hologram is very good. In isolation, your network bandwidth, everything is also very good, but it has not gone to the general masses. So when SpaceX or Facebook and all these type of people, when they are trying to do the internet through the satellites, which will be floating, if they will be able to do that through that, then it will suddenly transform the entire world. Because COVID is pushing to push all these type of technologies, robotics, um, uh, you know, and all these, data platforms, data analytics, everywhere it is just trying to push more and more. And even governments have come up with so much of requirements as we interact with the governments, because we are doing for a large car manufacturer in Europe. So we are virtually interacting with 2025 governments, and then they keep on coming up with a lot of very stringent type of reports, because they have some ambition of cutting some type of vehicles by 2030, some type of vehicles by 2035. They're experimenting on different type of fuels also. So in cars, we understand EV and we understand petrol and diesel, but there is a hydrogen fuel also coming up.
Mhm.
There is a hybrid type of cars which are very famous, for some brands. So governments are coming up with more and more reports, and with the connected car thing coming up, the whole car industry is going to transform, and they are imposing very, very, very strong fines. $500 million type of fines they have started imposing on companies like Volkswagen and BMW. But if you just implement even $50 million in technology, you can just transform and give the report to any type of government at any point of time. So
Mhm.
it's going to have a huge focus on analytics as such. Like you're watching a very good cricket match, you can see all the type of analytics they will try to show around that match. If you score more than 8 runs, score more than 10 runs, this is the projection, this will happen, that will happen. So that level of thing will come everywhere in every spectrum of life. So if we look at it, we have reached to only 3 to 4% of analytics till now. 95, 97% is still left. So if you come out with very practical type of a knowledge and you do a couple of very interesting projects along with the industry, I don't know, maybe having that type of plan.
Yes, we have
That,
internships. Yes.
yeah. So that will give you a very good idea and very good career, you know, ahead. Because and this I keep on telling it, you know, if you create a circle of 30, 35 years of your career, you are destined to make a fixed amount of money. Correct. So
Mm.
even if you earn too high in first 5 years, there's no guarantee that you will earn too high in next 30 years. I've seen it. So I have spent almost 25 years. So I am seeing it in my life itself. Because I know that whatever I would be earning in from 30, 32 years, I can earn that in 3 years itself in the end. If you have built it like that. So it
Yes,
all depends upon how do you think in your life, and every individual is different. But so whatever is your skill level, uh, you have to just work on it. And most important thing is going to be the common sense and understanding the problem. And that is hidden in the data.
correct. So let's talk more about your entrepreneurial journey, because what scenarios currently are there enables you to have that path also. So many of the people, many of the students actually are enrolling to a course like this, which is more specialized, to look at a particular direction, and at some point of time they want to start their own businesses. So primarily 3 years, 5 years down the line, after gaining this experience and this education, they want to start their entrepreneurial journey. Many of them, because we have had these kind of discussions in the interviews. So, given that, what would be your advice to budding entrepreneurs at this age? One thing is, of course, the times are difficult, COVID times, etc. But given that the right amount of knowledge comes in with of course the industry experiences which they gain, what is your advice as an entrepreneur to the budding entrepreneurs in the room?
Okay. So that's an interesting question as well as a little difficult one, because I'm more of an accidental entrepreneur who was pushed. But I'll tell you, like, see, if you want to be an entrepreneur within, let's say, 5 years of doing the job, then first of all, and I may be a little biased, but first of all, get into a very difficult type of job. Correct. Uh,
Mm,
because unless you don't see the struggle behind, you know, if so, I'm just giving an example. You're working for a very large MNC. You're working on very interesting setup. You have all everything facilities there. Somebody's taking care of HR, finance, this, that. You don't have to even bother about anything. And you know, you are getting a fat salary, and you're working on very specific and very limited type of a thing, correct? So you're
mm,
just working on some algorithm. Somebody is giving you data set. You're just working on some algorithm. You know, putting your let's say financial knowledge into it, and then passing it to somebody who will do the visualization and all that.
mm,
In 5 years, you cannot even think of creating a company, because if you will create it, it will fail. Um, the
mm.
best, you even don't know what type of government regulations are there and what type of complexities are there when you, because once you'll become an entrepreneur, you will have to start doing all of the dirty work. Correct.
Mm.
So my gut feeling or my advice to you is, whenever you want to create your own, at least 3 years you should be with an entrepreneur, with a struggling company, a company who is struggling and trying to, you know, put their foot. So this is like another learning process. So sometimes I tell it to a lot of my friends also, who are you know, asking their kids to go into MBA colleges. I'll say, okay, you're spending 50 lakhs or 2 crores in an MBA college. Why don't you open a small business and give it to your son or daughter, and ask them to lose all the money? The learning that they will be able to get is much higher than what they will learn. from this, correct?
Correct.
So entrepreneurship is very different. And second thing is you need to have that creative spark, and you need to consistently go into one dimension only. Because see, if you just want to create, uh, what are the options? So best option which is going to be there in front of most of you is that you have worked into a specific area and you like that, you have interest in that specific area, and then you have solved some problems into that.
Mm.
Then you will definitely able to come up with some standard, thing which will be applied to that type of an industry. So three, four of you, five of you, or two of you, or even one person can think of solving that problem, and then create a consulting firm, and then start working on that type of an IP, create that type of an IP, and then try to work more and more into it, and then try to deploy it to multiple customers. So that is the most easiest way of becoming an entrepreneur. Now that is stage one type of an entrepreneur. Stage two is you wanted to get into a little bit more complex thing. If you wanted to get into a little bit more complex thing, then you will have to start thinking of creating something around it. So maybe just not only the algorithmic level thing, you will have to do some custom development. You are doing it for a customer, you have picked up a customer, and then you are trying to build an application sort of a thing. Or in your times, you will say mobile app, something like that, and then you will try to launch it. Or if the stage three is if you want to be next Bill Gates, or something like that, or even in that segment, or you wanted to think of writing a platform, like we have written a platform, then it's a very arduous and long journey. Because first of all is you will have to face a lot of negation, because people will say how you will be able to write something which can compete with the top companies of the world, correct? And when you will start the journey, you will see 70-80% people will not be able to continue with you because of the difficulties that will come in the process. It's not that people don't want to be with you, but that's how the life is. The life will get a little different, because it takes more time. So when it takes more time, the physical situation, emotional situation of people around you and your own will keep on changing, correct? People will get married, they will be having kids. Some, if they are little older, their kids are going towards college. So they have their own other obligations also. And, the life will impose certain type of difficulties, correct? Like in my case, I had my family in Hyderabad and I was working in Bangalore because my main company was in Bangalore. So I had to travel almost like 15 days here and there. So my family had to do a lot of adjustment, and without their adjustment, it was not possible. But not every family will be doing it, correct? So that's the.
Absolutely. But hard work pays. End of it, you are a successful entrepreneur as we speak, and working on great projects. I have been a part of one of the largest projects in the country in the edtech field, so I have seen that very closely myself. Okay. uh, what is your I mean, we'll take up questions from the students. So Gitanjali, just hold on before I finish the main discussion. So what is your final word for the students who are primarily, I think there is a question coming in, but we'll take it later. What is your final advice for the students who are primarily taking up specialized courses like computational business analytics for a job purpose, for a further studies purpose, or as I said, like for an entrepreneurship purpose? What do you think should they be focusing on in the next 3 years while they're a part of this course?
Yeah, so looking at the course content, it looks like job is going to be quite easy for them because it is more close to the industry.
Hmm.
So job is going to be close to them. So if they get the concept of visualization, if they get the concept of basic machine learning, or basic
Python.
analytics and the data part, and then you
Hmm.
are already working on the computation, especially on the financial side, and you're just explaining the basic algorithms through R, and then data, you are basically explaining it through Excel also. But even Excel also can be made very complex, and then different type of formats, and how do you transform the formats and all that
Hmm.
can be there. So job aspect can be good, and if they do one or two good internships, they will be quite good at the job. So part one is done, because this is more relevant, because I don't know if you have designed it, because you exactly know what is actually required in the industry. And so like we have trained 500 people into this. So we don't have to train people onto this, because when we used to hire, they used to come with some zero type of knowledge, correct. They cannot even write an SQL, and then they wanted to do business analytics. There was there was one very big name, data science engineering institute in Hyderabad and Bangalore, and I called 500 people and then asked them to write SQL. Only one could do it. He said that, mm, you know, it's very difficult for you to be a good data scientist unless you don't know what type of data you want to pick and you know how to pick that data. So,
Absolutely.
so I
Yeah.
think you have taken care of those type of things. So the first part is done. So people won't have to struggle for the jobs if they do this type of course properly. Second part is for the further studies also, I think this is more practical sort of a course that can give you ideas for people to go for PG or even PhDs, because they can get into one sort of machine learning thing itself, and then go very deep into it. I have seen one of my friends doing that. He's like, the chief architect of Geo now. So,
Hmm.
but the complex problem which I cannot share here with that he's working on, he's muddling his head from last 4 years. That has not come out.
Hmm.
So the actual industry problems are so tough. And he is a PhD in machine learning from Texas. So people who wanted to go much deeper, then they can choose that type of path. Whatever they will like during the course content, they can apply for some of the interesting universities abroad or even in India, and then go for it. And then they can build their careers in the education segment. Entrepreneurship is a little tricky, because once you do a couple of implementation itself, you will start getting ideas of creating your own stuff,
Hmm.
creating your own consultancy, and or doing the work. Uh, Most important, I think, in this is the domain skill and how do you apply the domain skill.
Agreed.
So technology skills, I'll tell you. So this may be a little bit bad news, but my prediction is in next 5 years, the moment Google starts implementing quantum computing for everyone,
Hmm.
it's going to be extremely different. Because for coding the application, you need the understanding and design skills more than ability to write the code. Because
Hmm.
people still do not understand. So I'm just giving an example. People write an Angular JS code, but there is a machine learning program of Google who is already understanding that behind, which 99.99% people don't understand. With the computations getting very high, quantum computing, you give the instruction on the screen through the voice, and everything is now on a voice. Even a Word document, you don't have to type. You can just start speaking, and the Word document will get created.
Get created.
So,
Correct. You're
like
right.
that, if you wanted to create an application, you will say, okay, I want to create an HTML page. I want to have this. Now call this API. Now call this API. So if you have basic understanding itself, you'll just speak and your programs will get created. So you're going to land up in that type of world in 5 years. And your COVID is going to get solved in 3 years max, correct? So suddenly when they will come out of the college, it's they're just stepping towards the transformational aspect of technology. So in the business analytics also, they will hear the word data cataloging, data loss protection, these type of tools,
Hmm.
because we have just started releasing these type of tools in the market now.
Hmm.
So it's so again the same thing. You are having data coming from 10 different type of sources, and then you have built some visualization. Now this is getting more and more complex, because your data sets keeps on changing, or keeps on increasing. You have acquired one company, two company, three company, four company. So many new data sets are coming. So you get really confused from where this field is coming. So
Hmm.
data cataloging is like search on the data side,
Right.
and integrates all the aspect of data. So yeah, it's going to be tougher, but if you are very specific and you are more close to the industry, it's going to be interesting.
Yep. Thanks for your answer. I think we'll open up the questions from the room. I would request each of you to ask questions very specific to this session, which is focused more on discussion with Avin, and not necessarily the program details and all. We'll get more opportunities to talk about that. So I'll start with Gitanjali, who had actually raised her hand already. So Gitanjali, go ahead, unmute yourself and ask the question.
Or while Gitanjali is still on mute,
Yeah.
I can ask the question asked by Shreyas.
Yes. On the chat, do you think data analysis is a threat to our privacy? Thanks for the question, Shreyas.
Yeah, this is a good question. But data analysis is the cherry on the cake. Correct. It is not the threat. The threat is tracking the data. So if you are tracking the data, then it is a threat to your privacy. So I hope, I generally don't like advertisements, but I really like Apple's advertisement. I don't know if you have seen the Apple's advertisement. It is very, very extremely logical. The moment you click something now, and if they are able to track your data, your privacy is getting lost. Correct.
Correct.
So analytics is the intelligence out of it. Yes. So you are doing a lot of analysis, you are doing a lot of things, but it is all about whether you are allowing your data to be tracked or not. That's the most important thing. Like, okay, so I can boast a little bit, but none of the Amazons or Facebook or anything can do any type of analysis, real analysis on me, because I know how to confuse them. Correct? Because we understand. So I'm very sure, because when I interact with the Amazon, he will always try to give me the choice of my wife. He's never able to understand me as a user. Never. You will not be able to believe that I have never clicked on a link and bought it when Amazon has suggested. I've never done anything of that type, because I know how to confuse the system. Correct. So you will not be able to find out anything in even Paytm or even Google Pay or anything from on us, because we know how to confuse and how the algorithms are built. But general person doesn't understand, who gets very excited with the free things. I don't even have a Swiggy. I don't even have a Zomato. Correct. But still we are able to manage it. We are still able to order it. Correct. So privacy is in your hand. You need to have that type of an understanding. So there are few things from which you cannot save yourself. Like Google always know where we are. If you have used the Google map,
Location services. Yeah.
that is the only program with which you cannot get yourself saved if you are driving. Else, every program you can save yourself from.
Correct.
Yeah. Because after doing some logical thing, you start typing something illogical. Everybody will get confused. No algorithm will work after that.
Gitanjali, now you can ask your question.
Sir, I was asking regarding like when you were speaking, sir, I found that you use so many different terminologies. I felt that this entire data analytics is like an entirely new it's a completely it uses an entirely different language. Like it's sometimes there's so many different new terms like I'm currently finding myself like when I first heard a new language like Spanish or Chinese or Korean, I'm like guessing what does this term mean
No, it's a specialization. So Avin
contextually.
can talk more about it, but it's definitely a specialization which we are talking about. So it will have its own terminology. So you're right from that perspective. Avin?
Yeah, but I think these are very basic ones which you will be able to pick up very easily. Correct. Because if you, let's say, if you start using even WhatsApp, so there will be some terminologies which will be very specific to that tool. Correct. So
Yeah.
this is just, yeah, I know that data lake and data lake house and all that. And so machine learning and artificial intelligence, that is like very common thing. but this is not difficult at all. You will be able to understand. These are just methods by which, and there will be many more coming. Correct. So when I started talking about, I have still not talked about regressions. I just talked about correlations and just
Uh,
trying to understand different aspects. But it's very simple, Gitanjali. You will not face any difficulty in understanding. But yes,
and
technical,
Yes.
all technical.
Yes,
and
Gitanjali.
uh, there was like, to understand everything we need to know, or like, mathematics is very important, right?
Yes, absolutely. You need to have a mathematics background for sure.
Yeah, I'll give you one idea because one of my cousin's daughter, she didn't had maths in 11th and 12th, and one day she came to my office and then she was observing, when people were making some dashboards, and she started liking it. And then she said, I wanted to do something like this, and I have not done maths, in not taken maths in 11th and 12th. Can I do it? I said, yeah, you can still do it. I suggested her some computer course to get the basics, and you will not you will wonder that in 3 years of job, she has got two promotions in one of the MNCs, and she's doing really good. And now
Yep.
she's now, if I'm eligible, can I come to your company? So she keeps asking.
Yeah.
So
With some experience, you can definitely
yeah,
take up
most
take up
important
this.
is statistics in this.
Hmm.
So I think, and if you want to be a data scientist or something like that, then operational research. So you need to have that logical mindset of getting deeper into any problem statements.
Sure. Aishwarya, you could unmute and ask your question. Aishwarya S.
Good morning, sir.
Yes.
Good.
Good morning.
I would like to know what's the biggest mistake that you've made in your work journey, and what did you learn from it, or what's the biggest obstacle that you faced, and how did you overcome it?
Okay, in the work journey, or in the entrepreneur journey, it's different. So in my work journey, I will say, when we joined the software company in 95, 96, 97, at that time, the service companies used to put us into projects, in any type of project. So you will wonder, like, my first project was in AutoCAD, my second project was in Visual Basic, third was in Power Builder, fourth was in Java, fifth was in .NET, sixth was testing, seventh was in writing shell script. So the companies used to make you know hell out of us. So there's no thought process of any career building or going into one's field. So now when you work on so many technologies together for 5 years, first 5 years, you are jack of everything and king of none, correct? And then on the sixth year, I started getting into the business objects, and then started working on the clear cut business analytics or business intelligence, and that started making mind stable into one sort of domain in technology. But the first 5 years, like, I was just, I'll say that, clueless in terms of what has to be done. And in my entrepreneurial type of journey, so yeah, so maybe the emotions that we bring in the entrepreneurship, that may or may not be right. Like, we invested in a lot of people. We gave jobs to as many people as possible. So I used to say that I will not donate money anywhere, but if even I have 10 rupees extra, I'll give one more job. So that used to be my concept in the entrepreneurial journey. So that way, I gave jobs to a lot of people, give a lot of knowledge. um, People used to get 200, 300% hikes from our type of companies, and they used to jump. So that probably was an entrepreneurial type of a mistake. So you have to be just going onto try to find out a straight line, and then try to keep on getting into the straight line. It is always good if you have a good advice at home, but very difficult to find it out.
Divya Reddy, you could ask your question. Unmute yourself.
Good morning, sir. My question was regarding the advice that you gave for entrepreneurs. if we have ideas which have not been implemented yet, like completely new ideas, which fields do you suggest us to get into to get the idea or the experience we need first?
Divya, mm, I'll tell you, this is the type of world we are in where even Everest is crowded now.
That's so true.
One thing technology has, one thing technology has enabled is how we can translate our ideas. So ideas is tremendous. I'll tell you, there are umpteen number of ideas, and I interact with so many people. So 10 people may be having the same idea, but it is the implementation. What matters is the implementation. That's what I was just talking about, the straight line. In terms of, if you can just make those 10 to 12 points which are important for any implementation and go for it, correct? Even the Facebook idea was there with at least 100 people, but one could only make Facebook. So people will say you are destined. Definitely, you have to be destined for such type of big things. For small things, it's okay. But it's the implementation. Ideas are there everywhere. You just read some good articles about anybody. They have thrown hundreds and hundreds of ideas, correct? So for example, I may just give you an idea right now that we need to decrease the carbon imprints in cars, correct? So this means that today the 10% of the emission is happening by the cars, plastic material, this, that, and all that. And the total number of cars that will run after 10 years is going to be 5x from now. But all the governments have already promised for 50% of the uh, carbon emission. So this means that with the 5x cars, you have to reduce the overall emission from 10% to 5% of global emission. So this means that your carbon footprint of a car needs, today's car needs to be reduced by at least 7 to 8 times. That's an idea. Now, how do you do it? Correct.
Yes.
Anybody who will be able to do this will be able to make 100 billion. But believe me, all the top companies are working on it.
Thanks, Divya, for the question. Smarana, please go ahead. Ask the question.
Good morning, sir. So you
Morning.
have told that after COVID, post-COVID, we are going to encounter a transformational aspect of technology, right?
Yes. Yes.
So, but actually, like you have been into this analytics professional or into your career for at least like 3 decades. So there is a transformational change, like from 2010 to 2020, there is a lot of technological change happening.
Yes.
So could you tell what were the major changes, and whether there will be some patterns from the previous from which we can learn from? Thank you, sir.
Okay. I got it, although it was a little bit cutting, but I got what Samarana has to say. It's a good question. So technology runs behind the business. That you will have to understand. Because from my experience, I'm telling you, there are some technology which we wrote 15, 20 years back itself, but has not been implemented. Maybe because the government has not approved, maybe the business requirement was not there and all that. So all the technological changes, even in the business analytics side, whatever we have seen, is primarily governed by the businesses at present. And even in case of analytics also. So it is pretty advanced right now, but it is still not implemented that way because people do not want it to give you clarity. Correct? Whether it is in the organizational level, whether it is at the country level, whether it is at the globe level. So technology is available, uh, but first is the willingness. Second is still the technology is still costly. So it is because you have to involve a lot of human capital in this. So second thing is this. Third is the change. The change at which the business is going through right now is phenomenal. Correct. So you will open a newspaper and you will say these many companies have got this $1 million of investment. Correct. But you will never get a news how many of them has closed.
Yeah.
Correct. There is a clear correlation that 97% of the companies get closed in first 5 years. Why? Nobody talks about it. So in terms of business or business intelligence itself, like what we used to do in 2010s was more isolated type of uh, tools, and using all of that we just try to give more and more visualization which was not synced up together. Now we have been able to create a platform which is like all connected, so I can pull the data from right now and then I can see the visualization. Correct. So like in our platform we are able to provide, so let's say you have made a trip from let's say Bangalore to Mysore, and in 15 seconds you will be able to see every detail about that trip. You know, like where, what was the path you took,
Yes.
what, how many types of brakes you have put, and
What
if
did
you have,
you eat on the way?
yeah, everything you will be saying what is the maximum heat reached on the tire to everything.
Yes.
So in 15 seconds the report is ready if you wanted to do. And suppose if your driver is doing it, then you will be able to know, okay, how many times over speeding, how many times excessive acceleration, brakes, all these type of things you will be able to come to know. How is it possible? This is the connected platforms, correct? So nobody is doing anything, for this. It is happening automatically because you have designed it and developed in such a way.
So in future, sir, we'll have it much easier because we have connected all the pockets.
Yeah. So what we are working now on is the search. So, so we are still able to reach to certain level, but still few things have to be done. But I think in next 4 or 5 years, I will come on my platform and it will be like completely blank, and I will start talking to it and it will start giving me analytics, and whatever I like, I can save it, and whatever I don't like, I do not save it. So I will just come to know, about everything just by talking to the system.
That's the
Thank
power
you,
of
sir.
machine learning. Yeah. Thanks, Marna. There's a
Thank you,
question
sir.
which has come on the chat, HR. Are there any advantages for this course in comparison with computer science? So, I mean, it may not be a direct question for you, but in a way, let me just convert it into comparing a BBA grad from computational business analytics with a computer science student, let's say an engineering computer science student. How do you think this one fares better than the other, or vice
Yeah,
versa?
I will try to give an analogy which may not be 100% correct, but if you want to become a cricketer, computer science is more about improving your physical capability, doing exercises, running for this many kilometers, eating right food, everything like that. That is your computer science.
Hmm.
But the technique and what exactly has to happen in the ground, you come to the ground and start playing it. That is business computation skills. So you are just getting directly into the, what is required for the industry, and you will touch various aspects about it as well. So it depends, because
Yeah.
once you do computer science, it will make you ready to do very different kinds of things, and then you have to choose your specialization. But if you look at this course content, it is specifically putting you into a specific a zone that you will be doing this. After doing this type of course, let's say if you wanted to say I wanted to do, go into physics, or if you want to become a coder of, let's say, a new type of a language,
Hmm.
then it may not be a right choice, correct?
Hmm.
So suppose if you wanted to work on, let's say, a new type of a framework instead of Angular in future, and work for Google for that,
Hmm.
then this is not the type of course I'll suggest, correct?
Sure.
I mean, because you need to understand the, how the computational language and how all those type of things happens and all that. But if you want to go into business analytics, uh, this is the This will take you there, in 3 years itself.
Sure. There are some more questions coming in. So, Avin, I quickly want to ask you, you have some more time in hand. I hope you don't have any other engagement, so we can extend it by another 10 to 15 minutes, maybe 10
Yeah,
minutes, maybe. Sure.
yeah.
So, Vaibhav, please unmute and ask your question.
Sir, while I was listening about your journey, uh, I, sir, I feel like you make predictions and make patterns out of the analytics you do. And sir, how much percentage predictions will be right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So whether it is depending upon the segments, correct? So let me give you more relevant one. We did the predictive algorithm even for IPL matches before the match starts, and we were able to do that 70% accurate. And we know that because we have written that type of an algorithm, which was trying to map what a batsman is thinking. So this is okay. But when we try to get into the medical science, uh, then 99% is also not a good, percentage, because 1% is also pretty dangerous. So it all depends upon which segment we have been trying it out. Uh, so financial segment like fraud and all these type of things, you can just go to very good level now. 80, 85, 90% accuracy you are able to get into. And if you are working on a very large type of a data set, you will see that the accuracy will be very high. But something like if it is a googly coming out of the nature, then everything will fail. You can see that if you just go and try to see whatever whoever has predicted, you know, predicted about COVID in last 1.5 years, whether it is Singapore Association, whether great data scientists in US, everywhere, everything is wrong.
Hmm.
So when your input fields are changing, your algorithms will fail.
Thank you, Vaibhav. Spandana, you had a question?
Yes, sir.
Spandan, sorry.
Sir, when you mentioned, when you were talking about yourself, you told about quantum computing.
Yeah.
So can you give a little bit more about what is quantum computing like? How will it change data sciences? You told when you input a command verbally, it will change it into text. So like, how else will it affect our lives once we finish our like BBA course? How do you think it will affect us when we're going for jobs? Like, do you think it'll increase job expectancy or decrease job expectancy? Or do you think we'll have to again learn something more from the quantum computing to use it for our purpose?
That's a good question. Let me tell you, the growth in technology will make you learn till your last breath.
True.
Because if you go and talk to your grandfathers today, they'll keep on saying a new feature is coming in WhatsApp. What is this? I have to do this. What is this? Now you try to teach them Zoom or you try to teach them Teams. So this is going to be a normal thing, but it is going to be at that level only. There are two things in terms of speaking and typing it. It is already there. If you just have the latest version of Microsoft Word, and if you just enable the speak button, it is already there. Correct? Google has been able to achieve this in some, I think, 32 languages already. You speak any 32 languages, you'll be able to type it. So that's not a big deal. Quantum computing is, even I'm not a guru on that side, but basically whatever computational powers we have, you multiply that by 1,000 or 1,000,000 times, and it will be that fast. Correct? So currently, or few years back, there was only 5 companies used to have quantum computing. But as quantum computers, sorry, the large one. But as I'm discussing with some more customers, even our customer is thinking of having a quantum computer in next 6 months. This means that whatever data analytics they wanted to give or whatever services, and then quantum will also go into the cloud as a service. So if you have any business idea, that's why again I was saying that your domain skill is very important. So implementing that on technology will become much more smoother, much more easier Today, the technology is still not that smooth in terms of connecting things together. So if I have to run on I have to do this classroom session using hologram, and I'm running this on quantum computers, and if I have a gigabytes type of network bandwidth thing, that is the transformation which is going to come, everywhere. How it is going to change it? I guess for a few years the jobs are definitely going to increase, and after that, maybe because of so much of advancement, because of this quantum computing and all that, the robotics becomes, or the AI becomes much more implementable. Um, because it's all about, like today, let's say if I have to run an algorithm on terabyte data, think about what is happening inside that database and how that algo is running. So what type of infrastructure is there? Now, if I have to do that at a petabyte scale, think about how much the callings and everything is happening, and then think about at the zettabyte scale, it's beyond the thing. But if you see, the universe is, it is all happening, correct? So people are getting idea from there. So with um, quantum computing and all that, you will possibly start doing, because we are able to get into petabyte scale in our platforms right now. So zettabyte will be able to achieve with quantum computing. So anything which is substandard or which is not top class may not find a way to earn money. It's
Absolutely. Okay.
Thank you,
We can
sir.
take, yes, thank you, Spandan. We can take maybe one or two more questions if somebody has any. Yes, Srinidhi.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah.
So in every career, there have been ups and downs, which is not in your control. So in your career, have you faced anything which you could not do anything about, but it had led to a small downfall or something like that? I would just like to know about that.
Yeah, Srini, good question. And so this is a very relevant question, and it will happen. So there will be downfall in the careers, and especially if you do not have a very ordinary sort of a career, correct? So if you are, let's say, a clerk, or if you are just operating into a bank, it's still a straight line. There's not disruptions. But when you have your careers into the field which is like technology, like when you go into sports or in movie industry, you will have maximum changes, correct? Because it's extremely competitive. So the more competitive you will get, the more ups and downs you will have to face. That is a written law. And for you guys also, I think we have seen three waves in our career. We have seen, two recessions, and from, I think, from last 7 8 years, you guys have not seen the recession. So recession is very important, because we have seen 2008, we have seen year 2000, um, and recessions will transform the industry. So I think in your case, in next 30 35 years, it will not be three, it may be five, according to me, and the technology will get transformed five times. So it's, so people who are technically more advanced, who always keep them fresh, uh, they are, they have to keep on, upgrading themselves and all that. Because in our type of generation, still the relationship matters. People build beautiful relationships. So even if they are not technologically great, through the relationships, they have been able to manage their lives. But what I'm just seeing in a new generation, they do not build relationships, correct? Their relationship might be only with money, and that gives a different type of a perspective, and different type of a challenge, because when you are will be in crisis, you will have very few hands to save. But depends, how do you work? Because if you build some great relationships, the downs are less in those people's career. In my career, I can say that yes, it was very tough because coincidentally, I never asked for it, but I was a high performer. So I was into the 1% bracket of business objects. So when I had to change the job, and I wanted to change the job because of it got acquired and I wanted to work in a smaller company, I didn't had any job because there was nobody who could pay me that. And there was nobody even interested in, paying me half of that. There was no Google, there was no Amazon, and there was not these type of companies which was there when I'm talking in 2005-6. So that is a very different type of a challenge. So possibly I do not had any other option but to become an entrepreneur.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Okay. I think we have had enough discussions. I would actually encourage each of you to be connected with us, because in the near future, once the program begins, I'm going to invite Avin maybe to the university itself once the program starts as a guest speaker for us. So you may want to save your questions for that period of time, specifically related to data analytics, computational business analytics, etc. So, okay, we'll probably just take this one as the last question. Sandeep, quickly.
Hello, sir. Good morning, sir.
Yes, quickly.
Sir, I have a question. What role does digital technologies going to play in future, and what kind of contribution I could give into the society with this? What kind of contribution I can do with this course that I'm going to learn? That's BBA in digital technologies.
Okay, so Sandeep, you may want to save this question for next week, and I was coming to that only. That Professor Pradeep Rachelra is going to take us through the journey of digital technologies specifically, where he's going to talk about the 5 secrets of digital technology in general. And then there is a digital campaign which is going to work with you, which is more of a live session. Next week on 27th July, Professor Pradeep will talk about more on the digital technologies in general, and then a specific topic about that. So wait for that communication. This session is more focused on the business analytics, and Avin is more of a business analyst background than anything else. But that's a good question. Let's save that question for the next week.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
Okay, I would like to thank Avin for his valuable time and the preachings and the information which he has shared with us. Tried to answer the questions of the very inquisitive batch of our School of Management, and the future prospects and the future of data analytics as a whole. The discussion has been really useful. And we, as I said, like, we would definitely like to be in touch with you, and we would like to invite you in the future discussions as well, maybe in person if the policies permit. Then once we are starting offline the college, we would like to invite you for some of the courses and have those kind of discussions with us.
Thanks, Mike. I just wanted to reply to the last chat. So
yes,
quality for the entrepreneur is that they need to have a problem. They need to understand a problem and solution to it. Okay, that is the basic ingredient.
Yeah.
So thanks, Mayank, for giving me this opportunity. It was always exciting to talk to the new upcoming talent and the new generation. And this is interesting. But sometimes I feel we are pretty old. So maybe we have a little old school of thought process. But we take pride in at least creating some technology platform, because today's kids do not know much about that. Have we written something in terms of technology which competes globally?
Yeah, that makes sense. As I said, like, we would like to have our students interact with you in future as well. So I might come back to you, inviting you for a similar kind of a program in future also, preferably in person, so that we can have a longer discussion, longer interactions in person. But let's see how the college opens up and things open up like that.
Yeah.
All right.
Best for that.
Thank you. Thanks, Avin. Thanks for your time. And thanks to all the students who have joined in the program. just wait for my next communication for the next week. As I said, Professor Pradeep is going to take us through the digital technologies journey, and I'll send in the more details about that. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.